The mayor of Ferguson is going to call in here. The city council last night, some folks showed up and wanted the Ferguson Market, a legitimate business in Ferguson, one of the ones that didn't get burnt to the ground. They want it shut down because of the lies being told in this documentary about the death of Mike Brown. So we'll talk to the mayor about that coming up. Right now, we're joined by the one and only Annie Fry of the Annie Fry Show. Hello. We'll get your mic on here in a minute. You good?
Yep.
I had to figure out the mic situation. Sorry about that.
There's a lot of buttons over there.
There are, I know.
More buttons than I can handle.
So many buttons.
That's why we're on this side of the microphone and
Yeah.
you're sitting over there, right? Because
possible
you know
there
how to
are-
push those
I
buttons.
was going to say, it is possible that there are more buttons over here that I know how to handle.
I doubt that. I doubt that. You're one of the best in the building at that. You know it. Absolutely. Annie, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Middle of the week. Getting ready for the end of the week.
So I admitted this to Liz yesterday. I probably shouldn't admit to anyone else. I paid very little attention when I see emails or social media stuff about it's National Transsexual Day. It's National Sandwich Day.
Popcorn,
it's National Donut
whatever it
Day.
is.
Whatever. Every day is a different day.
Yeah.
So yesterday I randomly heard somebody say it's National Pie Day, and I'm thinking I like pie, but I didn't give it much more of a thought than that. And then I'm in here, and Jason popped up with some comment about it's
I'd
National
tell you
Pie
a
Day.
joke about Pie Day, but it would never end or something like that. Yeah, you'd never hear the end of
That's
it.
a
That's
good
what
one.
it was.
And I heard him tell the joke, and it just didn't register in my brain, and it just kept on going. And then later I stopped and thought,
Pie.
what the hell was he talking about? And then finally I see a Facebook post where somebody's got the 3.14 and the numbers, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
there
think
you go.
Pie Day has
PI.
Different
Day
pie.
has been around for a lot longer than like all of the other days. I'm with you.
I just don't pay any attention.
I
to
was
that stuff.
100% for Monday because that was National Nap Day. So
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry I missed that one.
I did not.
You did not? Good for
I
you.
made sure
Celebrated in
that I
style.
got-
Right in the middle of the show. She snoozing
exactly.
over there. That's
exactly.
good. You know, Annie, I've been trying to follow this budget mess in Springfield.
So are our legislators.
No kidding. I mean, honestly, and I don't bring you in just to talk about Illinois stuff, but I can't make heads or tails of it. It strikes me that Rauner's trying to do the right thing, and he's run smack dab into Madigan and these folks from Chicago who've run this state with an iron fist for so long, and they overspend and they have no accountability for it, and they refuse to agree to anything that's going to cede any of that control back to any common sense spending levels.
I have a funny story about that.
Yes.
So on the General Assembly floor, they were debating some more spending initiatives, and Democratic Representative Robert Martwick, who's of the Illinois 19th District, which is way up north by Chicago, naturally, he wants to get ilga.gov, a government website, translated into Spanish. So he's asking for $1.5 million to do this. And he's presenting this on the floor, and he says, quote, "Most importantly, when we start talking about the right things to spend money on, this is the right thing to spend money on." And then, this is great because there's video of this, Republican Representative Keith Wheeler, who's of the 50th District, also in the suburbs area of Chicago, picks up his laptop in conversation, goes beep, boop, beep, boop, and pulls up Google Translate. And he's like, you can translate it into anything you want.
For free.
For free. And if you want to know why Illinois is broke is a joke, it's because we're spending time and money discussing $1.5 million to translate a website into Spanish. And like the conversation, it wasn't like mic drop, okay, move on. There's like still conversation about spending this money. So you have the Senate trying to pass this grand bargain. They want like a $7 billion tax hike and a 1-year spending freeze. 1 year is what they think is going to fix the albatross of problem that we have in the state of Illinois. And where we need to, the craziest part about what we have going on in Illinois right now, from 2000 to 2015, the cost to Illinois to fund state and employee pension benefits has increased 586%. In 15 years, increased 586% for state employee pension benefits. Total revenue increase, 57%. So that's all you need to know. If you're looking, I mean, I have a graph here, and the graph is a great visual, but when you're looking at where the problem is, you have to get at the root of the problem. And you can't say that you're going to prioritize funding these pension benefits that are, it's not, Illinois cannot sustain what we have going right now because people are fleeing literally every 6 minutes. It averages out to every 6 minutes. A taxpayer is leaving the state of Illinois to come to here, to Missouri, somewhere that is friendly to people who make money and pay taxes. And they say 1 year freeze and a $7 billion tax hike. Not on my paycheck.
Thank you.
I can't sustain it.
No.
And it's a 25 minute drive across the river to come work here. Be just as easy to move here.
Sure would.
So
Sure.
yeah, I don't know what the solution is going to be, and Governor Rauner's responsibility in this has just been to say no so far because that's
Thank
all
you.
the power that he has,
Right.
and he's done so. But we're going to need some more muscle in the legislature. if we're
Southern
gonna get
Illinois
anywhere.
needs to speak. They've got to get some more representatives in there to fight this. It's just a nightmare. I mean, they could probably get that translation, probably hire some illegals to do that for like $10,000, couldn't they?
Probably.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
1.5 million?
Yeah, I mean, okay, do we want to be able to have our stuff accessible to people in different languages? Sure.
Sure.
Google makes a product for that.
Sure.
Doesn't cost us anything. But $1.5 million.
Oh, my God.
So
It's just amazing.
it is amazing.
Speaking of millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
did you see Trump's tax returns last night on the
Yeah, that's
Rachel
chump change.
Maddow-
Let's see if
Maddow
Donald
show?
Trump can fund the translation into like 40 different languages. That was the biggest, most hilarious womp womp that I've seen in my modern day attention to media. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. It was almost as if it was a "this just handed me" moment where she got him and then she was like reading through, and then halfway through, your face goes flush and you go,
Well,
crap.
and the sad thing about it is that there's no way that it was just handed to her.
No.
Because they had a guest on talking about it, and she promoted it for like an hour before she actually talked about it.
Yeah, she blabbed and blabbed. And I think that if she would have known she had some meat there, like they promoted it and they were, they did get a high viewership out of it because everybody's talking about it. And normally people aren't talking about MSNBC because normally people don't watch MSNBC.
Right.
But she just went on and on and on, leading up to the point where she's like, yeah, he pays a whole lot of money in taxes.
I thought about that. But remember the news anchor in San Francisco a few years ago? I was trying to search for the sound real quick. The news anchor in San Francisco who was handed the bad information by the intern and actually went on the air and read this story about the pilots.
Oh, that was terrible.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, some off-color names.
We have new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Lee Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what roles each of them played during the landing.
Yeah, whatever. This drives me. That story drove me nuts. That woman is still employed as a news anchor in America. That somebody gave her a piece of copy and she read it cold. And it never dawned on her. She couldn't interpret the copy as she went along.
So somebody
that
like
there's
you
no way
who's
those were real names.
done it before, what's the process there?
Well,
you see it ahead of time?
Sometimes, maybe not always, but it would be very unusual for something to just pop up in the prompter that you've never seen before, or you'd have to have a lot of trust in the producer that did it. I'm not saying that never happened, but for an anchor to have to read names that are tough to pronounce, my guess is she'd read through that list at least once or twice, and it still didn't register in her brain that those weren't real names.
Yeah.
Right?
There has to be that
That's
moment.
that's like a middle school prank where you call into somebody and get them to repeat these names over a loudspeaker.
She pulled a Ron Burgundy.
she pulled a Ron
right
Burgundy.
what
She
was
read
in
what
front
was
of
ever
her.
on the prompter. So to me, that's what happened with Rachel Maddow last night. I have a hard time believing that she hadn't looked at this yet, but then she read it as if she hadn't looked at it yet.
Well, there's one other layer to this that is possible, we cannot underestimate the delusion that goes on at places like MSNBC. If they thought that simply having his tax returns, because he made $150 million, if he paid $38 million, that's still a lot of millions that he has in his pocket. And I don't put it past MSNBC or the people who watch MSNBC to still think that's not enough. And for them to be so out of touch with reality to say that 25%, well, when you're making that much money,
right.
But they don't think of it that way. And then when you start coming out with, that's the problem with facts, they're funny things, you know, when you start coming out with facts and percentages and comparing those percentages to Obama's percentages or Bernie Sanders, now it gets a little icky, but that's all in the wake. So
go to cut number 10. I don't know if Annie heard this one or not. This is Rand Paul on that.
Since Senator Sanders is such a good socialist, I think he'd want to pay his fair share. I'm expecting news any day that he's going to send a couple $100,000 into the IRS so he can pay his fair share.
Sure.
Because the report was that Sanders' tax rate was only about 13%,
yeah.
but that Trump had paid 25%.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and Democrats like to think of government as charity. It's lazy. It's the lazy man's charity. If you get to keep your money, you can still do good things with it.
I think the biggest travesty in America is the progressive tax rate, because the assumption set it at I've always been a fan of a flat tax, because 10% of $70,000 is a lot less than 10% of $150 million. You're still paying a lot more, But why should the percentages change just because you're successful?
It would truly be a fair share.
It would be this is fair. Barack Obama used to talk about that all the time.
But let's not assume that they actually truly want fair share. It's a friendly way of saying we want you to spend more money so I can spend less.
No, that's
they like it because it rhymes.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing. This isn't fair.
So I'm just telling you.
You know who says this is